What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Realms of Metal. Eddie here, coming at you from somewhere in the woods in Pennsylvania, where won't stop raining. But I go on these fixes or kicks with, like, I'll listen to a certain band. I get fixated on a band, or I get fixated on a certain genre. And like for the last 2 months, I've been listening to nothing but death metal. It's just all death metal, 24/7, nonstop. I can't get enough of it. And I thought that it would be kind of fun to like go into my collection and pick out death metal records that were like tens out of 10, like 10 out of 10 for me, just random death metal records. So I picked out 15 death metal records that I believe are just perfect records. And I just want to talk about them and share them with you guys. And, if you're a death metal fan, you probably know already of these records. If you're not, and you're just getting into death metal, or you're getting familiar with the genre, like, these records are a really good place to start. So like now this is gonna be kind of fun, like a stroll down memory lane. So I'm gonna start with the first death metal record I ever bought, and that was in 1990. First Deicide record came out. I was a freshman in high school. I think I've talked about this on another video, where we picked up the cassette and we brought it home to my house and put it in. We're like, holy shit, this is the most evil thing we ever heard. This was the gateway to everything for me, death metal wise. Like, I had already been into thrash at that point. So, I've already, Metallica and Megadeth and Exodus and Slayer and all that. And, like, you're long for something more after that, something heavier. Like, and this was it. Like, this was the fix for that. And it's such a classic record. Every song on is good. Like I said, all these are 10 out of 10 for me. Um, Lunatic of God's Creation, Sacrificial Suicide, Oblivious to Evil is such a fucking good one, man. Title track, Deicide. Like, this is it. Like, I even got I bought the banner and I put it on my wall. You can see it back there. Like, this is like the holy grail, or one of the holy grails of death metal for me. So, first Deicide record, pick it up. I had it on cassette, and then I had it on CD when I was transferring my cassettes to CD when CD started rolling out. And then this is from the box set that I just got, so really a classic record. Grab it. Grab this Deicide box set too, if you have the means. So let's go to. I'm just gonna pull these out randomly, I think. Hypocrisy, Penetralia, 1992. This was on Nuclear Blast. This was their first full length, as well as that was first Deicide's first full length. Amazing record, evil as fuck. I love the first two Hypocrisies. Um, Kind of in the vein lyrically of the Deicide record. And this was 1992. That was 1990. But I think I talked about this on the Hypocrisy unboxing of these re-releases, that the second side is even better than the first. Left to rot, burned by the cross, to escape is to die, take the throne, Penetralia. Like, holy shit, that's side B of this record. Then you got Impotent God, Suffering Souls. Jeez, really killer stuff. I love Peter Taggart. He's one of my death metal heroes, as well as Glenn Benton and Steve Osheim. Really good stuff. Pick up the first Hypocrisy record, Penetralia. Then I'm gonna go to now. I got all different styles of death metal in here. I got straight up death metal. There's progressive death metal. I got a death thrash in here. So I got all the subgenres of death metal. It's not just pure death metal. Um, Death, the Sound of Perseverance. This is just, to me, this is the best death record. Like, it's a very progressive record. The way, Chuck's songwriting on this is fucking off the charts. I mean, Scavenger of Human Sorrow, Bite the Pain, Spirit Crusher, man. Flesh and the Power it holds, Story to Tell. Voice of the Soul is the instrumental on here. So good. So This came out in 1998 on Nuclear Blast. This was their seventh and final record before Chuck passed away. So Chuck, death metal hero of mine for sure. Death, Sound of Perseverance. I mean, you can't go wrong with any Death record. This the one just happens to be my favorite. So good. Pick that up. Let's go to Suffocation, Effigy of the Forgotten from Strong Island. I remember going to see them upstate. I forget. I think it was a headline show for them. And I actually went to the show years ago with my Islanders jersey on, and Frank pointed at me in the crowd, and he was like, "That's my hometown." I'm like, "Yeah, motherfucker." Suffocation, Effigy of the Forgotten, 1991, RC Records, their first full length. Just legendary stuff. I mean, you really can't go wrong with any of the Suffocation stuff. This one just happens to be my favorite. Pierce from Within is really good too, but I like this a little better than Pierce from Within. I mean, you just got fucking Liege of Inveracity, Effigy of the Forgotten, Infecting the Crypts. I mean, come on. Mass Obliteration, Jesus Wept. I mean, just like it just you know how certain albums just they give you a feeling, you know, like this, you put this on and you get that feeling, like it just kind of takes you to another place. It's just death metal perfection. Pick up Effigy of the Forgotten. Great stuff. Now let's go to 1989, Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness. Another perfect death metal record right here. Now this is their first release if you don't count Abominations of Desolation, which is right here. This was supposed to be their first release in like 1986, but it got scrapped somehow, and a lot of the stuff that was on here ended up on here. And Trey from Morbid Angel would go on to say that it was just, you know, he considers it a demo, but it really wasn't. It was really supposed to be the first full length record. That it ended up getting released a few years later. But if you're in the Morbid Angel discography, the A, B, C, D, E, F, you know, this is the A, you know. So Altars of Madness, Immortal Rites, Suffocation, Maze of Torment, Chapel of Ghouls is a death metal anthem. I mean, jeez. Damnation, Blasphemy. I mean, come on. Very killer, very killer. Legendary record. Pick up Altars of Madness. Now, also, the only band that I have two records in here is going to be Morbid Angel. I had to pull out Covenant too. The third full length. I just love this record. Covenant came out 1993 on Earache. It was, you know, their third full length, like, you know, barring what we talked about in Abominations of Desolation. Like, oh, like to me, like this is when Morbid Angel kind of blew up a little bit, was with Covenant. Rapture, that was I think they did a video for Rapture, right? Pain Divine, World of Shit, Vengeance is Mine, Blood on My Hands, Sworn to the Black, God of Emptiness. God of Emptiness is such a unique track, right? It's just legendary stuff. Another 10 out of 10 for me. Morbid Angel, Covenant. Pick this up. So let's go to 1990. Obituary, Cause of Death. I don't have this on vinyl, but I have the CD. I had the cassette, and then I got the CD. I got the CD when I was a kid, you know, when it came out. It's an original CD. Cause of Death. It's just one of those albums that has another feeling to it, takes you to another place. Like, to me, it's death metal perfection. Obituary's best record. This was my first Obituary record, and then I went back and got Slowly Rot. And to me, Slowly Rot was good, but it didn't compare to this, like, at all. Like, this is amazing stuff. I know there's kind of a glare there, so here we go. I remember when, like, I had my first car, when I first started driving, and I was in like, 10th grade or 11th grade or something like that. And I had the cassette on in my car, and like I pulled up to a traffic light and Dying was on. I'm like, I had it blasting, like I had an amp in my car and all that stuff. I I was getting looks from people like I was the fucking devil driving down the road. Like it was hilarious. Like, cause of death, infected, body bag, chopped in half. Circle of the Tyrants, the cover is really fucking good. Such a great cover. Dying, like, oh, so good. Pick up Cause of Death if you haven't already. Let's go to 1991. Massacres from Beyond. It's one of my favorite records ever. This came out on Earache. Earache. It was their first full length Massacre, and this is another one of those records where he put it on and like the guitar tone and Cam Lee between the guitar tone, Rick Ross, right, and Cam Lee's vocals. It's like death metal on fucking steroids. Like the guitar tone they got on this, like I don't think it's ever been replicated, not even by them. It's just I love the production of this record and the sound of the guitars and the sound of the vocals. Cam Lee is a fucking legend. He's another one of my death metal heroes. Um, fuck. Dawn of Eternity, Cryptic Realms, Chamber of Ages, From Beyond, Defeat Remains, Succubus. Like, if you don't know this record, pick it up immediately. Get it. You're going to love it. I'm telling you. It's so good. So freaking good. So let's go to 1990. Napalm Death's Harmony Corruption. This came out on Earache. It was Napalm Death's third full length at that point. Now I got this. I love this record. It's so good, and I fell in love with it the first time I heard it. And then I went out and bought the first two, which was Scum and From Enslavement to Obliteration, and they sound nothing like this. Like the first two records are like grindcore records. This one was a little bit more death metal oriented, and it was way more my style. And fuck, I can't say enough good things about this record. Like it's just it's of legend in my collection. It's always been a legendary record for me. Vision Conquest, If the Truth Be Known, Unfit Earth. Oh, fuck. Unfit Earth. The Chains That Bind Us, Mind Snare, Suffer the Children. Like, Suffer the Children? Like, I wake up randomly, like when I wake up from sleeping, and I have like Mind Snare in my head all the time. Like, I don't know what the fucking deal is, but legendary record, Napalm Death. To me, their best record. Pick this fucking thing up. It's so good. Another legendary record, 10 out of 10. Let's jump to 1992. Malevolent Creation, Retribution. This was my first Malevolent Creation record. I fell in love with it right away. I bought the first one. Still a very good record, but not as good as this one, in my opinion. The first two are fucking killer, but this one is a little bit better, in my opinion. Um, their second full length, RC Records. Oh shit, man! I listened to the fuck out of this record when we were kids. Like, just the opener with the intro, Eve of the Apocalypse. Like, it's just of legend. Slaughter of Innocents, Coronation of Our Domain, No Flesh Shall Be Spared, Cold to Survive. Like, oh, just killer track after killer track. I don't have this on vinyl. I'll get it when it gets re-released at some point. I'm sure it will. So I have it on CD. I've always had it on CD. This is from when I was a kid. So another killer one. Pick up Retribution. Can't go wrong. Let's go to 1991. Cannibal Corpse, Butchered at Birth. This was their second full length on Metal Blade. Always been one of my favorite death metal records. To me, it's the darkest Cannibal Corpse record that they ever put out. I love everything about it. Just another one of those records that takes you to another place. It's so dark. The production is so dark. The vocals are so guttural on this one. Barnes does a great job on this one. Like you can barely understand what he's saying. You really gotta read along with the lyrics to, figure out what he's saying. But there's so many legendary tracks on here. Like, got meat hook sodomy, gutted, living dissection, covered with sores, vomit the soul, like uh, rancid amputation, enters decay, like another perfect death metal record. I also have this on CD, but I picked up the re-release of the vinyl. Killer stuff, death metal heroes, Alex Webster, Paul Mazurkowitz. Pick it up. Let's go to 1991, Gorguts, considered dead. Another 10 out of 10 record for me. Um, I love the first two Gorguts record, this one and the Erosion of Sanity. After that, they kind of went like a more technical route, which I wasn't a huge fan of. But the first two records are legend for me. Um, I remember buying the cassette and I brought it home, and that there's like a dark like acoustic intro. It's called, and then comes Lividity. And I remember putting it on and like hearing that intro. I'm like, oh man, I'm in for some serious shit right here. I could just tell, like it had like a serious death metal tone to it. Like you're in for a good record, and you got it. Stiff and cold, disincarnated, considered dead, raw anatomy, bodily corrupted, hematological allergy, like legendary record. Gorguts considered dead. This was their first full length. Pick it up, along with the Erosion of Sanity, which is a good record, but to me not as good as this one. So let's go to, this is kind of a controversial record. Um, 1993, Carcass's Heartwork. Now, the first Carcass I had was Necroticism, and I loved it. Necroticism was a great record. Um, I listened to the shit out of that record, and so did my friends. We all loved it. But when this came out, when Heartwork came out, this was kind of like a game changer. Like it's heavy as fuck, but the songwriting is accessible on it. Like everybody loves this record, and all the songs are good. They're well written. Like the guitar tone is amazing. Like this is a legendary record, and a lot of death metal purists probably don't like this record. I love it. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Buried Dreams, Carnal Forge, No Love Lost. In fact, I was at a friend's house yesterday, and he had this on um, at a birthday party. So Heartwork, Embodiment, This Mortal Coil, Blind Bleeding the Blind, Death Certificate. I mean, every song is good on here. 10 out of 10, legendary record. It's a great record for somebody who's just like starting out, getting into death metal. Um, Fucking Carcass, Heartwork. Pick it up. Let's go to 1991. Pestilence, Testimony of the Ancients. I'm a huge Pestilence fan. This was the first Pestilence record I ever owned. 1991. After I bought this, I bought the first two, which were kind of more death thrash. Still very good records. Malleus Maleficarum and Consuming Impulse, legendary records. I almost pulled out Consuming Impulse for this pile too, but I went with this instead because I always like this one a little bit better. To me, the first one, like I said, more death thrash. This one was more death metal, and the songwriting on this one, it just leaps and bounds in maturity from Consuming Impulse to Testimony of the Ancients. Um, you got so many good songs on here. This album has another one of those albums that has a feel to it. Takes you to another place. Patrick Romelli is a death metal hero of mine. Love the guy. So talented. Great songwriter. Got the Secrecies of Horror, Twisted Truth, fuck. Land of Tears, Presence of the Dead, you know, like Jesus Christ. There's so many good tracks on here. 10 out of 10. Pick up Pestilence, Testimony of the Ancients. I have this on CD as well, but I got the vinyl too. So I think that's 14. This is my 15th. This will be my last one. Last but definitely not least. And I also have a bonus one on here that I wanted to throw in. But this is this is Death Thrash. Ghoul from California. It's the only really modern record that I have in this video. Everything else has been old school. This is kind of the only modern one that I got. This came out in 2006 on Razorback. This was their third full length. I saw Ghoul on this tour. If you watch another video, we went to see him in Brooklyn, and they asked me to be the Gorbor. I got dressed as a Gorbor and got on stage, and it was fucking fun as hell. And this record is just so good. Like, Ghoul is so much fun. They mix thrash metal and death metal perfectly, you know, and even the earlier stuff than this was almost like grindcore too. But this album was a little bit more accessible than that. But good track after good track. And, you know, As Your Casket Closes is such a, you know, probably the best track they ever wrote. Bury the Hatchet, Murd, Cult of the Hunter, Mutant Mutilator. It's the title track, Splatter Thrash, Life of the Living Dead. Like, if you don't know Ghoul, start with this one. Like, you're really gonna love this, especially if you love thrash metal too. It's got a real thrash feel to it. You know, it's death thrash. So, and then I saw this, and it's not really a pure death metal record. In fact, a lot of people would say this is more black metal than anything. I always pictured this. Well, in my head, it was always more of like a Black Death album, and that's another legendary record. That's Samile's Ceremony of Opposites. So if you don't know of this band, this album is so fucking good. And like I said, a lot of people will consider it black metal. Their first two records, I would say, yeah, this is their third full length. So the first two records, I would say they were Worship Him and Blood Ritual, I believe, were the first two. This one, to me, was more of death black metal, you know, in my opinion. But I always lumped it into my death metal stuff. And if you don't know Ceremony of Opposites, like, go out and buy it, get familiar with it, YouTube it. It's such a legendary record. Every song on it is good. It's got a great guitar tone. The songs are just so well written. They're catchy. They stick with you. The two best on here are the ones that really stick with you are Baphomet's Throne and Crown. But every song is good. Black Trip, Celebration of the Fourth, Son of Earth, Till We Meet Again, you know, Flagellation, like the title track. I had this way back when it came out, and this was 1994 it came out on Century Media. And I was dating my wife at the time. And I always joked with her that, you know, if we had a kid, you know, we'd have to name him Vorfalak. It was just the way it was going to go. And then, you know, once we eventually got married, you know, we didn't have a boy, we had a girl. So that's just the way it went. Vorfalak never came to be, but he is on here. So pick up Ceremony of Opposites. You will not be disappointed. Another 10 out of 10. And like I said, not a pure death metal record. To me, death black. Others might disagree, and that's all good, but that's how I always considered it. So that was a fun little walk down memory lane. Thanks for hanging with me on the Realms of Metal. Ant and I will see you guys again real soon. Have a good rest of the day.